Hi, and welcome to your committee program. And look, Jacopo, that is some sharp eyes. I am, in fact, in Milan. It's almost like you are a real Italian boy. Real Italian boy, just like Pinocchio. He was a real Italian boy, too, as I recall. Is this offensive? Do I need to get off of this right away? This is offensive. Okay, this is offensive. In that case, we are going straight into your global news rodeo.
This is the Global News Rodeo with Ron Chowdhury and Forrest Lovette.
Your global news rodeo, which, as you know, is a roundup of global events as curated by the show's own Forrest Lovette. Let's go. Item number 1, 3 updates on the war. And the first is Deutsche Welle is reporting on the ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal says that the war will cut grain harvests by 20% compared to last year's totals. Countries in North Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, which depend on grain from Ukraine, have started to feel the impacts. And I think, editorializing quickly, what the worry is that this sort of food instability with some energy instability with a little bit of political unrest can push some other countries into the situation that Lebanon finds itself in, right? Which is almost sort of becoming a failed state. And climate is also the thing that's going to drive all of these things just an extra little bit into really pushing global chaos. And I think it's something we should all keep an eye on. Back to our updates. As the news of civilian attacks surfaces, Ukrainian Deputy PM says they have negotiated 10 routes to evacuate citizens in designated humanitarian corridors. Following the atrocities in the city of Bucha, President Zelensky commented on the situation in the town of Borodyanka outside of Kiev, saying it is much more horrific. There are even more victims of Russian occupiers. I will say, we are seeing a lot of horrific things going back and forth, and people are throwing a lot of words around. I did actually appreciate, and I will probably get some hate mail for this, I did actually appreciate China's response, in that they were like, the things that we are seeing is what happens when there's war. Like, there is no such thing as clean war. And this idea that we sort of sold ourselves in the 90s with the bunker busters and with the sort of clean images of things, it's just not how any war is. Not when Russia does it, and not when the U.S. does it. Okay. The pro-Russian mayor, Konstantin Ivashenko, who was recently appointed in Mariupol, said 60 to 7% of apartments in the city have been destroyed, and 5,000 civilians have died fighting. That's just an update on what's happening, and probably the fiercest battle, which, of course, is Mariupol. Item 2, Fat Cat Autocrat. Nice for us. I'm glad we're back on something with a little spunk in it, right? It's hard. Hungary's Orban wins again. Euronews is reporting that Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has declared victory, claiming a mandate for a 4th term. The right-wing nationalist and his party Fidesz won in an apparent landslide last week. Orban addressed his supporters in Budapest on Sunday, saying, "We won a victory so big that you can see it from the moon, and you can certainly see it from Brussels." And went on to say, "The whole world has seen in Budapest that Christian democratic politics, conservative civic politics, and patriotic politics have won. We are telling Europe that this is not the past, this is the future." Orban and his party have repeatedly been condemned by the EU for democratic obstruction and widespread corruption. The opposition coalition United for Hungary said it wasn't an equal fight, and they will continue to dispute that the election was free and democratic. I do want to say, when you do see results this skewed, it is not just the kind of machine cheating at the end. It's not just the media push. There actually is a problem with messaging and narrative. And I hope the opposition digs into that, because there are a lot of people in Hungary with a lot of really smart ideas about how to carry these things forward. Item 3, Justice Jackson. Senate confirms judge to Supreme Court. I'm not sure if Justice Jackson is supposed to be, is this a Jackson's reference, Forrest? Are we doing something, or are we just talking about the woman? We're just talking about the woman. Okay, got you. Okay. NPR's reporting the U.S. Senate has confirmed Supreme Court Justice nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson in a 53-47 vote. Jackson will be the 116th Supreme Court Justice, and more importantly, the first black woman to serve on America's highest court. President Biden commented on Twitter of the decision, Judge Jackson's confirmation was a historic moment for our nation. We've taken another step towards making our highest court reflect the diversity of America. She will be an incredible justice, and I was honored to share this moment with her. Jackson replaces Justice Stephen Breyer, who was known for his belief that the SCOTUS should remain an apolitical head of the judicial branch. However, Jackson will now operate in a court with conservative majority rule that has proven to be anything but apolitical. You just hear me constantly sour on everything with American politics. Judge Jackson seems cool to me. She seems like a cool person, and I'm glad she's in there. And I feel a little bad for her that the Democratic politics of we will put a black woman in here somehow can put an asterisk by her name, and I just feel like we need to get on this kind of tokenistic identity politics communications, and we need to really examine how we intersect the people who we want to be right on our team and the jobs that they do without just this really reductive, simplistic thing. I will tell you, as a human of color, that there is nothing worse than feeling like the world thinks you're getting something for the wrong reasons. It is a deeply painful thing. Item 4, a slap on the fist. UN suspends Russia. Reuters is reporting the United Nations has voted to suspend Russia from the Human Rights Council. A U.S.-led push saw 93 countries vote in favor, 24 countries vote against, and 58 countries abstain. Russia's deputy UN ambassador said the decision was an illegitimate and politically motivated step. Later, Russia announced that they had decided to quit the council. The U.S. representatives were pleased with the results, but China's UN ambassador was quoted saying, "Such a hasty move at the General Assembly, which forces countries to choose sides, will aggravate the division among member states and intensify the confrontation between the parties concerned. It is like adding fuel to the fire." Item 5, euthanize me, Captain. Canada extends law for assisted suicides. IFL Science is reporting that next year, Canada will allow for assisted suicide for adults with incurable mental illnesses. The Medical Aid in Dying, or MAID bill, was first passed in 2016, but only allowed for suffering or terminally ill adults. In March 2021, the bill was amended and expanded to patients with grievous and irredeemable medical conditions. However, mental illness, long-term disability, or any curable condition was specifically excluded. The new law change will go into effect March 2023, and will cover severe depression, personality disorders such as bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, PTSD, and other mental conditions that are considered irremediable. The eligible will be anyone 18 or older who is deemed mentally competent, can provide informed consent, and can prove their decision does not stem from outside influence. I mean, I think it's easy to feel like these things are really hard to get right, and I'm sure that is true, but we don't have to start over again. There are many places in the world, Australia was the most recent with the Reason Party pushing it, but also Switzerland, many other places that do have assisted suicide, and we can see that it's one of those things where you're like, but what if, all of these scenarios, and those what if scenarios don't come up very much because people generally are doing the thing that they're choosing to want to do. It's a strange analogy, but it's almost like on the show when we talked about, well, what if every community said we want self-determination and we want our language group to have its own country? Yeah, that'd be a problem, but it's actually not the situation, right? Like, oftentimes by trying to stamp out the exceptions, we forget the universal rules and the universal justice behind universal rules. So we're sticking up for that here on the committee program. Thank you so much. Forrest, do we have any more items, any more news articles? Maybe some with more puns? I feel like we kind of drew back on that.
No, we're finished.
Yeah, you know what it means when the lights go out, actually. So we probably are finished. I think we probably should just cut.